Tonight at 5, Michigan's Attorney General says her team has busted a retail fraud ring who stole millions.
It involves stolen data from California and Sam's Club stores right here in Metro Detroit. So let's bring in Pamela Osborne. She's working the story for us tonight. Pamela, help explain how this all worked.
This group was somehow able to electronically swipe the data off of 8,000 EBT cards. I want to show you some video now. We were just able to confirm that this search warrant, which is took place last Wednesday in connection to this ring at Mark's Liquor Store on Springwells in Southwest Detroit, was one of 8 locations searched as part of this huge investigation.
This is the first of what we believe will be many to come large-scale criminal enterprises.
Attorney General Dana Nessel announcing today her office, in conjunction with Michigan State Police, arrested 39-year-old Travis Newby, 23-year-old Darian Williams, both of Detroit, and 47-year-old Vanessa Williams of Highland Park in a massive food stamp fraud enterprise.
It was determined that several individuals were entering Detroit area Sam's Clubs and making purchases with fraudulent EBT cards.
8,000 cardholders had their information stolen by the group, which made $4 million in purchases at Sam Club stores throughout Metro Detroit. From there,
the merchandise travels and might end up, might begin in Michigan, might go to another state. Oftentimes, of course, will end up being sold online.
Nessel says it's part of a bigger problem, with retail fraud costing the country $45 billion a year, our state alone accounting for $1 billion of that. The AG says the newly formed task force, which investigated, isn't done yet.
Let today's announcement serve as a warning for anyone attempting to commit these crimes in Michigan.
The 3 people arrested were charged with felony charges, and there could be more arrests that could take place in the coming days. That's based in part by some of the evidence that they were able to get as part of those search warrants. Reporting live in Detroit, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4.
Okay, Pamela, thank you.
In Tampa Bay alone, EBT spending added up to $2.5 billion taxpayer dollars between 2013 and 2015. I-Team investigator Jackie Calloway wrote exclusively with state agents just this week, uncovering the food stamp fraud taking place here and across the state.
Food stamps for sale.
$16.95, right?
And the money spent on anything but groceries. You don't have anything to say at all about the charges? State agents with the Division of Insurance Fraud spent 7 months conducting surveillance. The target? The popular Food Town Meat Market on Bush Boulevard.
We found that they were trafficking EBT benefits.
Fraud detectives raided the store and then arrested 2 of the 3 brothers who own it. They say that the store was buying food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar and then cashing them out with the state.
Beautiful weather today, isn't it?
Investigators tell us they caught both Omar Ganem and Baylor Ganem paying cash for cards from willing customers. At the time of his arrest, police found over $1,600 in Omar's pocket. They say you committed food stamp fraud? Do you have anything to say, sir?
It's a win for the good guys today.
The state says the meat market cashed in $200,000 in food stamps every month, about the same as an average-sized Publix.
It is a very busy store. Very, very busy.
Customer Carrie Clark told me she uses her food stamps to do her monthly grocery shopping here. The bust came as a surprise.
I think that's terrible. It's terrible. Taxpayers' money goes to it. My husband works. It hurts every taxpayer in the state of Florida.
According to the USDA, 11,000 smaller markets just like this one make up 80% of the food stamp fraud in Florida. Here's the good news. Lawmakers this past session gave the green light to hiring 5 more food stamp fraud investigators.
If you're doing it, watch out. So we're coming for you.
The Ganem brothers face 3 felony fraud charges each. Both were taken to the Hillsborough County Jail. The third suspect, a customer, remains at large.
So did federal agents find evidence of food stamp fraud at Findlay Market? We're asking those questions tonight as we dig a little bit deeper into crimes that cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. 9 on Your Side was there as agents took away boxes of evidence from Bush's Country Corner. The search warrant just obtained by the 9 on Your Side I-Team reveals federal investigators believe the store processed nearly $3.5 million in fraudulent transactions beginning in 2010 and continuing until March of this year.
And get this, the USDA identified $560 million of food stamp fraud last year. The USDA insists it has a high-tech network that can identify possible fraud, then alert investigators. But as Chief Investigative Reporter Craig Cheatham discovered, agents in Ohio learned about years of fraud from outsiders, not the system designed to alert them.
North side of the market, they're here.
Federal and state law enforcement agents and local police moved quickly on the streets outside Findlay Market. They raided Bush's Country Corner store, where they counted cash and collected evidence.
We're executing a search warrant at Bush's Country Corner for food stamp trafficking issues.
Adam Johnson, the agent in charge of the Cincinnati office of the Ohio Investigative Unit, says this investigation is part of the Southern District of Ohio's Financial Crimes Task Force, which includes agents from the Secret Service and USDA's Office of Inspector General. USDA says documented fraud represents less than 1% of the benefits. That small percentage still amounted to $560 million last year alone.
It's something that we deal with on a regular basis.
3 years ago, federal agents, state and local police raided U.S. Beef in Fairfield after undercover investigations recorded illegal trafficking of EBT cards provided by the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, the modern version of food stamps.
They're gypping the system, making all of us pay for this, and it's not intended for that.
The 18-month investigation began with a tip from a confidential informant who revealed U.S. Beef employees bought EBT cards for half their value, then billed the government for the full amount, a total of $906,000 in fraud, according to the criminal complaint.
If you do have a confidential informant who is able to get essentially on the inside of the organization, and especially if you're able to record those kinds of interactions, that can make for a very compelling criminal case.
U.S. Beef's co-owners, Scott Traum and Joey Lightcap Traum, and employees Dalton Traum, Keith Blankenship, and Jordan Kaiser all received sentences of at least a year in prison. The evidence included a detailed analysis of SNAP sales by U.S. Beef and 3 comparable companies, which showed a 350% increase in transactions by U.S. Beef 2 years before the tip by the informant, sales that were quadruple the combined total of the 3 comparable companies.
That seems like a glaring red flag.
Absolutely, that is strong evidence of fraud.
But what the U.S. Attorney now describes as strong evidence of fraud was apparently never identified as possible fraud by USDA's alert system, which monitors electronic transaction activity and identifies suspicious stores for analysis and investigation. As the lead USDA investigator revealed in an affidavit, the investigation began with the informant's tip, not any evidence provided by the taxpayer-funded high-tech alert system.
And that's fair. That's a fair point. In reality, when we're talking about a program of that scope, knowing exactly where to focus on potential fraud requires a wide variety of different sources, whether they be individuals with knowledge or statistical information or whatnot, but we probably need more than just one source in order to be able to figure out where to focus those investigative resources.
Even with USDA's alert system, Glassman insisted the massive SNAP program with 263,000 retailers and 7 million transactions a day is an enormous challenge to monitor.
It would be great if we had the technological means to instantly catch everyone the moment that a fraud occurs, but we don't.
Recently unsealed federal court records show the problems continue. In a search warrant filed 3 months ago, a USDA agent revealed an investigation had uncovered $9 million in SNAP fraud by Ohio direct distributors. The agent alleges the fraud began in 2011 and lasted for 6 years. Court records show the investigation began with tips from 2 individuals, not the USDA alert system. U.S. Attorney Glassman declined to comment on that case because criminal charges haven't been filed.
Any offense that's gone undetected by law enforcement for any amount of time is frustrating. But I do have confidence that ultimately those major frauds will be discovered. They will be investigated, and we will then prosecute the offenders and put them in prison.
The I-Team requested an interview with a USDA representative, but the department didn't make anyone available, and USDA did not address the specific issues or cases mentioned in this report. The lead agency for investigating food stamp fraud in Ohio is the Ohio Investigative Unit, headed up by Adam Johnson.
We use all the resources that have been given to us to investigate it as best our agency can.
Today, investigators also executed search warrants at 2 Indiana homes as part of the probe of food stamp transactions at Bush's Country Corner, one that took a much bigger step as agents removed boxes of evidence. This is the search warrant agents executed today. In it, agents, quote, confirmed illegal trafficking of SNAP benefits. This investigation, like others we examined in this story, began as a result of a tip by an informant. In the warrant, store owners Mike and Amanda Bush and Randall Bush are described as key targets in the investigation.
It is a multi-million-dollar underground economy, and you, the taxpayer, are footing the bill. We're talking about food stamp fraud, the illegal use of welfare benefits. New at 6, we're taking you inside a stepped-up effort by the state to crack down on bridge card abuse, benefits intended for the needy, which are instead turned into cash or used to buy booze, gas, or traded for drugs.
Hello?
Over 2 days and through 2 counties.
This is why we're talking here.
3 active investigations.
Andrew Kostowski with the Inspector General's office.
Target 8 recently shadowed a case agent with the state's benefit tracking unit.
I need to talk to you about your DHS food stamp case.
We can't show faces or places as these investigations are still open. It's all part of a crackdown on abuse of food stamp benefits. Everyone from individual users peddling bridge cards over social media.
I'm here to talk to you about the post that you made on Facebook.
To stores exchanging cards for cash or accepting them as payment on credit.
They now face penalties for their lottery license and their liquor license.
This year, the state has conducted almost 1,300 such investigations, identifying millions of dollars in fraud, including $5 million in fraud by workers at meat markets in Flint this past September, and a sting at Detroit's Eastern Market, which resulted in 9 people placed under arrest.
To the critics who say that the state's not doing enough to fight welfare fraud, what do you say?
I say they're dead wrong.
It is a fight that combines 21st century technology and old-fashioned legwork. Agents look for certain purchases that stand out.
We'll see if any transactions have occurred in the last couple of seconds. That's all we have to do is just keep hitting refresh.
Using tracking computers in a car with a camera across the street, they wait.
The street value for a bridge card is 50 cents on the dollar. However, the store gets reimbursed 100%. So there's nothing for them to lose. Here's the social media post that originated the complaint.
And investigators are watching those modern marketplaces like Facebook and Craigslist where cards are offered to the highest bidder.
Anybody knows somebody that got some food stamps for sale, I want to buy some. That's a violation.
After building his case, Kostowski makes contact.
Do you have any idea why I'd be asking about that?
Not really.
No? Okay. We know that the Facebook post happened, all right?
Right.
You know that it happened. Right. I know that it happened.
Right.
So what I'm looking for is for you to acknowledge that you want to make this right. That's why we're here today. Now.
So am I in like big trouble for that?
Big trouble? No. But trouble, yes. I can handle this a few different ways. I can offer you a repayment agreement and a disqualification, and you'll be prohibited from getting food stamps for 12 months. Is that something you would agree to?
And what's the other things?
The other things is I go back to my office, I write up a big report, I put an investigation together. You don't qualify for food stamps, do you?
No.
No. So why do you think it would be okay for you to buy somebody's food stamps that qualifies for food stamps?
Because everybody does it. I didn't think.
Everybody does it.
And y'all doing this to everybody?
Everybody.
In 2 cases, the individuals admitted to the fraud on the spot and agreed to lose benefits for at least a year.
The ultimate goal is for people to accept responsibility for their actions, and that's what we accomplished there.
The store stands to lose much more, including liquor and lotto licenses and criminal charges for the owner. The case remains open. So you might be wondering, how prevalent is that kind of scam? Well, according to the government, the fraud accounts for only a little over 1% of the entire food stamp budget, but even then we're talking about millions of dollars. And the state essentially, Sue, they want to send a warning out to the people that are engaged in this kind of activity. They're out there and they're watching you.
And it looks like it's a successful program.
Yes, they're getting a good return on their investment as far as recouping some of this money. In fact, this year alone, I think $1.5 million has come back into state coffers.
Wow, so it's working and it's growing. Okay.